Hi friends, I'm Felicia. Welcome here. So I woke up from a nap like an hour ago and I still feel a little bit out of it, but I wanted to film this video today. So here we go. I'm gonna be just sharing with you the books that I read in the first quarter of the year. Obviously I didn't intend to go this long without filming a monthly wrap up, but now it's just my my first quarter. It actually works out well because I read a lot of whole series. Then that works fine because I can just tell you about the series, because I can't tell you about the subsequent books after the first one, right? The first series that I read, the first book that I read this year, or finished this year, and then its sequel that I read in the first quarter. I'm gonna get into this yet. I read East and the sequel West by Edith Pattou. I don't feel like I know how to say that right, but so this is a retelling of East of the Sun and West of the Moon. Our main character Rose, she kind of has a wandering spirit and she just longs for adventure. And so when she's 15 or 16, I can't remember, maybe even 17, she's a teenager. One day a polar bear shows up at her family's farm and says that he wants Rose to come live with him, and in exchange for that, she has to live with him for a year. In exchange for that, her sister who is sick will be made better. And so Rose goes to live with the bear in his castle, his magical castle. It's kind of hard to explain without giving away a lot. There's magic and fantasy and adventure and trolls and bears and such. I really enjoyed the first one. I feel like there's some things that are weird. I don't know. I feel like I have read the original fairy tale, but I feel like I don't remember it. So I can't say if it's faithful or not to that. The first book was a really good adventure. And then the second book, and like, wow, I wish that I had gotten the matching cover to this because it looks really nice, but whatever. So in West, we're picking up the story a few years after the events of the first book. And we're following all the same characters. I did like it a lot when I was reading it. Like, these are really fast reads. They read like YA, but in this book, she's in her 20s already, so I don't know if you still would count it as YA, but that's how they read. But the thing is that this book kind of just feels like a rehash of this one, just different scenarios, but it's basically the same story. So did it need to be told? Not really, but I did still enjoy it. It was a good read. So I would recommend these based on my terrible description of them. But yeah, they were fun. Another series that I read all of the books of, I think I read them all in January, and that was the Regency Spies of London series by Melanie Dickerson, and I read them all on Kindle. The first book is A Spy's Devotion. The second book is The Viscount's Proposal. The third one is A Dangerous Engagement. This is a series, they're kind of companion books. Each book follows different characters, a different main character, but the same people are still kind of hanging around. So you would want to read them in order because otherwise you would get spoiled for things that happen in the previous books. I really like these. I had read A Spy's Devotion before and yeah, just wanted to reread it. In these books, we're following different young women who are, through different events, forced have the opportunities to be spies in different capacities. Christian romance, and I actually really enjoyed them. I really was in a like Victorian Regency kick after reading Holiday by Gaslight by Mimi Matthews, and then at Christmas time, and then I just wanted to read everything like that. I really enjoyed the series. I think my favorite was the first one. The second one had strong Pride and Prejudice vibes. The third one was good too. Just wasn't my favorite, but it was still good. Then I finished my first series for my YA breakup project, and that was the Renegades series by Marissa Meyer. So I only have the first book, and I ended up listening to the whole trilogy on audio. So this is YA superhero fiction. So we have people that have superpowers, and there's a team that rises up, a group, a coalition, that are called the Renegades. They take over the law in this city, and yeah, kind of set in a future where there is no more law, there's no police, there's no nothing. It's just the Renegades. But there are groups of like anarchists and whatever that want to take down the Renegades. So our main character that we're following, her name is Nova, and she is part of the anarchists, and she actually infiltrates the Renegades to take them down from the inside. So that was a really interesting plot, or yeah, structure to follow, I guess. Premise to follow. Point of view to follow is that she is working from the inside to take this organization down. And so I was really interested how that was going to work over a trilogy, and yeah, it actually turned out really well. There were some things, as with Marissa Meyer, that tends to happen with me, is that I can kind of tell where she's going to go, but then there were still plot points that I was like, I don't know where we're going with this. I don't know how this is going to resolve. Yeah, overall, I thought it was really good. The postscript, or the epilogue on the third book, was a really good epilogue. I was shook. Yeah, overall, I really enjoyed it. I like where this story took us. It was very interesting, and yeah, I like it. I don't know if I'm gonna keep this now, because I don't intend to buy the other two books. So do I just keep this one? I did like it, but would I ever read it again? Unsure. The next book that I read, my first Stuart McLean book of the year, The Morningside World of Stuart McLean, and this is actually his first book. Stuart McLean's first radio show was actually a show on CBC Radio called Morningside, and he would tell stories, and this was kind of like a precursor to his Vinyl Cafe stories. They're real stories. He goes around and interviews people. He started as a journalist in his career, so he would go around getting these kind of human interest stories, and then he would tell them on his weekly show. And so this is a collection of a bunch of those stories that he told, and I mean, as usual, I adored it. I love Stuart McLean, and I love just all of his stories. They're so heartwarming and cozy, and I just love the way that he saw people. Like, he was so fascinated by people, and he just wanted to tell their stories, and he just saw wonder in everyday things, and that's what I love about his books. So I really loved this one, and I say my first Stuart McLean of the year because I do anticipate to read at least one or two more. The next book that I read was a book that I borrowed from the library, so I brought it back already. And that was Something New by Lucy Knisley. And I've read a few of her other books before. And this is chronicling the time and she was engaged and planning her wedding. For the most part, I found it interesting, but so she makes very clear that before her marriage, she was a feminist, and she didn't want to have a traditional wedding. She was never sure if she really wanted to get married. Just all these things, and like, you know, people have so much expectations for weddings and blah blah blah, and she just wanted to do her own thing. And like, there was a point when she just ragged on weddings so much. So it's like, why did you have a wedding? Obviously you hate them. And she just talked about, you know, like doing all of these things for her wedding, because she wanted to have the wedding she wanted to have, but then she did all these things to make their parents happy and all these things. And I was like, okay, like I get, yeah, weddings are tricky. I feel like we make them trickier than they need to be. But whatever. So that got a little bit old, like the wedding bashing. It's like, okay, if you don't want to have one, then don't have one. Who cares? But yeah, otherwise it was good. I like the way she tells stories, and I like her art style, and yeah. It just got old. I was like, okay, I get it. The next book that I read was The Prince and the Pauper by Mark Twain. I read this for my in real life book club, and man, how it works in my book club is we take turns suggesting books, and then everyone else votes on the books. And one of my friends keeps bringing Mark Twain books. This is the third one we've read as our book club. And it's always my one friend, and everyone else votes for them. And Mark Twain is just not for me. I don't enjoy his writing. The stories are fine. I just don't like his writing. So The Prince and the Pauper, I'm sure you're familiar with that story. A prince and a pauper trade places, and then through circumstances they end up living as the other one for an extended amount of time. I found the writing really confusing because like it was written in the 1800s, and then it was historical fiction, so like set in the 15 or 1600s. But so he tried to use, or he was using that like really oldie English kind of talk, and I just could not keep up. And I already struggled with Mark Twain's writing. So yeah, not for me, but I mean, I don't have a problem with the story. Just his writing is not for me. So if we have to read more Mark Twain books in book club, I'm probably not going to read them. No, I will read them. I'll just be miserable the whole time. Right now, a series that I'm working on is I'm listening through the audiobooks for the first 7 books of the Nancy Drew mysteries, or whatever, the Nancy Drew series. My library has the first 7 books. I don't know if there's more. And they're all narrated by Laura Linney, and so I've been listening to them. So I have finished books 1, 2, and 3. So that is The Secret of the Old Clock, The Hidden Staircase, and The Bungalow Mystery. I do own a copy of The Bungalow Mystery, which is fun. Nancy Drew was integral to my childhood, or my preteen years. These are the first books I remember taking out of the library. When I was growing up, we lived in the country, and so we couldn't get we had to pay for a library card for the public library. My parents didn't do that until I was like a teenager, and yeah, so the books that I was reading when we started doing that, like I was reading the Nancy Drew books. Yeah, it was a good trip down memory lane. I didn't remember anything that happened in these books, and yeah, like Nancy really is just the perfect the perfect girl, and I would hate her if I met her in real life. But I really liked revisiting these stories. I think they're a lot of fun. The next book that I read was the Matrimonial Advertisement by Mimi Matthews. I read another Mimi Matthews book. I couldn't resist. And this is the first book in her Parish Orphans of Devon series, I think. And this one has one of my favorite tropes, which is a marriage of convenience. I love a marriage of convenience. I don't know why. I just do. We follow a girl who, I forget her name, Helena, and the guy's name is Justin. And Justin has put a advertisement for wife in the paper, and Helena responds. They meet. Justin's like this really just like gruff, like kind of loner type guy, but he's so kind. He just keeps himself. And then yeah, Helena comes in and she has secrets, and he has secrets. And what I love so far, the 2 books by Mimi Matthews that I've read, she actually writes like convincing relationships. Like these people have never met before, but they get married, and so they decide, okay, well, we're married, so now we need to actually like be honest with each other. And so there's this level of honesty that I feel like I don't often see in romance books that I've read in the past. But then there's also like this sense of like they're holding back, because they're still testing to see how much they can trust the other person and how much they can reveal. But you can just sense that they care, like they really grow to care for each other, and like they want to help the other person in their situation. And yeah, I just loved it. This is a Victorian novel. I don't think I said that, but yeah. So I will certainly be continuing on with the series, because I freaking love the way Mimi Matthews writes romance. The next book that I read, guys, it was a YA book. I don't even own it, but I was looking at Overdrive and I saw that it was available, and I was like, you know what, I want to listen to it. And then I listened to the whole audiobook in one day at work, and that was The Siren by Kiera Cass. And it's about a girl whose name is Colin. Kiera Cass just really comes up with the stupidest names for her characters. I'm sorry, but it's true. It's like Colin, Kahlen. I think is how it's spelled, but in the audiobook it just sounds like Colin the boy's name. And then so she meets a guy and she's like, yeah, my name is Colin. And he's like, that's beautiful. Like if someone came up to me and said their name was Colin, I'd be like Colin, excuse me. I wouldn't say that was beautiful, but whatever. So that's like my pet peeve with her books. But yeah, so this is about a girl who becomes a siren, and she has to be a siren for 100 years and serve the ocean. She has her I don't know, a coven, her band of sisters, and they are serving together. And it's following them, and of course there's a romance with a boy. I'd say a big part of it is about her relationship with her sisters. So I really liked that, and like, you know, female friendship. We love to see it. You know, YA, the romance was very YA-ish still. But I enjoyed it. It was like a fun read. I listened to it all in one day, and yeah, it was fun. So, do I regret reading it? No. Do I wonder why I read a YA book that isn't on my shelf? Yeah. I rearranged my bookshelves, by the way, and I didn't film it because it took me several days and it was a big mess. My shelves were actually on the other wall, and I flipped my shelves in my desk because I wanted my office library to feel different. And then I have a skinny Billy bookcase. I don't even know if you can see it. Yeah, a little bit. This is like the skinny one, and then I have the two full-size ones. And I made the skinny one my TBR shelf, and then the two big ones my red shelves. Doing that has made my shelves feel so different. They felt so crammed before, and now there's actually like room to expand on my red shelves. Am I doubling up books like behind the other books? Yes, I am, but it's fine. So my YA shelves are the two top ones. You can't see, I don't know why I'm pointing. So my YA shelves are the two top ones, and I put all my YA books on those shelves, and then the other 4 are not YA. I have such a ridiculous TBR, guys. It doesn't stress me out, never. Get into the end here. Okay, then I read Duology that was on my TBR shelf, so yay me. I listened to the audiobooks, did a lot of audiobooks at work in February and March. I go through phases. But I listened to Magonia and Airy by Maria Davanha Headley. This really got mixed reviews when it came out. Basically, it's sky pirates. So we have our main character, whatever her name is, Azza. That's what her name is. And she has like this rare disease that she's dying, and or like her lungs don't work and like her body doesn't work properly. And so she just fully expects to die, you know, any minute basically. She's 17 or something, 16. But yeah, all of a sudden one day she, through circumstances, she finds out that she's actually of this race of people that live in the sky on ships, and they're called the Magonians. That's why she can't like breathe properly. Her body doesn't work because it's not actually a human body. But yeah, so she gets taken up to Magonia, and then there's like a war, and that's a terrible description. I'm so sorry. But the first book, I was really intrigued. Like, I liked it more than I thought I would. The writing is a bit weird, but in audio it works. There's one thing that is so annoying. We read from the perspective of Azza, and then we read from the perspective of her best friend slash boy that they're both in love with each other, Aza and Jason. And he has this thing that he feels safe when he's reciting the digits of pi. And golly, I was listening to this book when I was grocery shopping, and then all of a sudden it was just like, so like, I don't know if you can see this, but all of a sudden there's just like a chunk with just freaking pi. And I can't tell you how annoying it is to listen to someone say 100 numbers. I was like, okay. Because like if you're reading this, you would not read each individual number. You'd be like, oh, okay, yeah, pi. Golly, I had to, it was stressing me out actually. I was like, why are you saying so many numbers at me? Oh yeah, this page was really bad. Can you see all those numbers? It's terrible. Yeah, I had to skip forward because it was stressing me out. I'm not a numbers person. Anyways, so the first book, I was intrigued by the world and whatever. And then the second book, it was just like, okay, this is boring. So whatever, I read them. Do I recommend them? Not necessarily. I don't know. If you're interested, like the world is really interesting, but I wanted like more of the world and the lore. And it's just, well, you know, it's about best friends in love that are separated and that are trying to get back to each other. So whatever. And then the last book that I read in March was Heidi by Johanna Spyri. And I read this for Middle Grade March. I actually read like a Middle Grade March book, a middle grade book for March. Heidi is about a little girl that lives in the mountains with her grandpa. And I read this book quite a few times as a kid, and I had not read it in many years. And so I wanted to read it again, and it was just delightful and lovely and sweet and very much like The Secret Garden about how nature can heal children. I did really enjoy it. I remembered, as things were happening, I remembered it from when I was a kid, so that was fun. I have a terrible memory for like books and movies and TV. Like I have to keep it continually fresh in my mind every few years, otherwise I don't remember what happens. Like, and if I see something like one time, I just like have such a bad memory for the details. An example of this is that I've watched Ocean's 11 probably 4 times before I could remember how they got away with it. Like the first 3 times I was like, I don't remember how they did this. But yeah, anyways, so those are the books that I read in the first quarter. Yeah, if you've read any of them or you want to read any of them now, let me know your thoughts and your comments down below. And let me know what one of your favorite books was that you read in the first quarter of the year. Hopefully I'll be coming back with monthly wrap-ups instead of quarterly wrap-ups. Catching up on the content. We're getting there. So yeah, I hope you have a really good day. Thanks for watching. I hope you're enjoying what you're reading. And until next time, so long. Thanks for all the fish.